It is devastating. So at 8:02 p.m. yesterday evening, we received a 911 call for a possible drowning at 10 Hillside Ave in Wrentham, which is near the Bellingham border. Immediately, Bellingham Fire Rescue was dispatched because of the proximity. They responded, as did Officer Heron, being the first one from our department to arrive. When they arrived, they found family members performing CPR on a 1.5-year-old boy, Angelo Nicoloro, and they took over those efforts in the back of the Bellingham Rescue and just did everything they could on their way to Landmark Hospital to save Angelo, and it didn't work. So he was pronounced deceased at Landmark Hospital. This was another tragedy, but it's just, when it occurs, it's the only tragedy. And it's above ground pool. Family members were around, and consistent with similar incidents, it only takes a few seconds of opportunity for these little folks to find their way into a pool. And I've said this before, that they're curious, they're intelligent, they see that pool day in and day out as nothing but fun. There's no perception of danger associated in their little heads. And every time they try to get to it by themselves, an adult gets in their way and they end up not being able to get to it. So just like any smart little kid, they wait for an opening, and that opening can just be seconds. And it seems like that's always the case. They watch, they find that unattended span of seconds, and up they go into that pool, or into the pool if it's an in-ground, and then we have a tragedy. There's just, everyone blames themselves when it comes to family, and there just isn't any blame. This is truly a case of there but for the grace of God go I think definitely for me, and I think for almost any parent who can say to themselves, I've lost track of my kid for 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and lucky for all of us, we find them sitting behind a tree or just doing something that's really not all that dangerous. In the case of pools, that's not the case.
And can you speak to just how important it is to just basically have eyes in the back of your head when it comes to a pool?
You can't say it enough, and again, I think all of us don't think it's going to happen, especially when you have so many people in the general area. Like, who can miss this? You always think, if it's not your eyes on the person, on the child, then it's someone else's eyes, and that someone's got it covered. And that's just not always the case. I don't know how to prevent this 100% because I think it's nearly impossible. But all I can say is, and I said this many years ago when we had a similar drowning, is just treat your pool as if it's a bonfire in your backyard. You wouldn't let that go unwatched for a few seconds, because the evidence, the potential for injury is so great and obvious. Pools are on equal par.
And it must have happened so fast. If you just went into the pool, by the time they
and it only takes seconds. I'm not a doctor, but I've been told by doctors who have been in the emergency room on these things before, for such a little body, for such a little person, their system is overwhelmed in seconds. Unlike a larger person who has a larger capacity. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's pretty much over within seconds for the smaller the person.
And it's your impression that a ton of people were there, big family,
Big family and grandparents, and everybody just having a wonderful day before Father's Day celebration, which now has gone completely tragic.
And you spoke to it at the tail end of the other interview. Just being a dad and having this happen. I mean, that poor dad.
Listen. I think everyone from public safety that responded to that scene, including myself, are dads, and that adds another layer to it. No one today is having the Father's Day they thought they were going to have yesterday, and today we're just looking, and everyone's looking at their own kids and counting their blessings and their hearts pouring out to the dad and the whole family, of course, that's suffering through all of this.